Seems like the world is just waiting for North Korea to do another nuclear test because it seems like that is the red line that Trump has drawn. And we still don't know whether or not China is on our side. Just because they send, away a few coal ships, China and North Korea have a very convoluted relationship. Past administrations have tried to ring in the leader of North Korea, because by the way of economic sanctions. It just hasn't worked out, and it hasn't worked out because North Korea is such an isolated country. And China's always been a loophole for North Korea to use, and it's gone to the point where Trump, he's a new president, new administration. He wants to be proactive in how he deals with North Korea. And these, you see the media talk about how North Korea consistently says that they're going to blow America out of the water. We're going to be a sea of fire. Everyone's going to die. North Korea has these certain capabilities that it's just such a mystery. We think they can hit the west coast of the United States. A lot of experts believe that they can hit Hawaii. But really, it's such an isolated nation, and they're so closed off to all these other countries that we really don't know. They've done a really good job of, and I don't know if they've meant to do this or is this just something that happened, but they have a small, close knit group of friends. They deal mainly with China. They've had dealings with Russia in the past, Iran, Pakistan. They're just not a part of the rest. The rest of the world. It's just not something they've done, and that's part. With the leader of North Korea, Kimmy Boy's dad and Kimmy Boy's granddad were really good at shutting their country out to foreign influences. They wanted to put themselves up on a pedestal. And not let their people know what the hell was going on in the world. I believe the first international broadcast that was allowed through state-run television was when North Korea made it to the World Cup in 2010. I believe it was 2010. I remember watching them play Brazil, and they actually did a pretty decent job. I was like, holy shit, look at these little guys go. But that's beside the point. Basically, they rule through fear. They rule through, a veil of ignorance. These are people who have only known the North Korean way for the longest time, and China has just not been on board with past administrations. This has been going on for decades, and now we got Trump in office, and whether you like him or hate him, it seems like China's starting to do something. They're starting to at least be proactive in some ways. Now, is that saying that they're completely on our side? No, not at all. It's just not. There's too many powers over there in that small area for you to believe that this is like a done deal. That North Korea, sooner or later, they're going to fall. We see Russia moving troops and artillery to the border of North Korea. Over the past several days, there's been 2 times where Russian bombers have gotten within, I think 36 miles of the Alaska coastline. Once we scrambled jets, the other time we didn't scramble jets. I think we just sent an unmanned drone to just watch the situation. But between China putting their bombers on high alert, between China testing missiles off of their destroyers in the Sea of Japan, it's just a really volatile situation. And you got to feel for the South Korean people, because they are Seoul, the capital of South Korea, is so close to the DMZ that if a war did break out, they would have mere minutes to respond. And unfortunately, I would see no other outcome than millions of South Korean people dying. Not to mention, we've got 30,000 U.S. soldiers over there, and you're dealing. North Korea. People joke about their technology. But these are they're close to a 1 million man army. With the reserves, I think it puts them at like 1.4 million. And they're run by a lunatic. This is a guy who will not give up power. During their parades, you see these soldiers screaming that they'll die for good old Kimmy Boy here. And Kimmy Boy, I mean, another thing, why is it that because I watched the march last weekend when they had the Day of the Sun celebration or where the hell crap they were celebrating. Why is it that Kimmy Boy is like the only fat North Korean you see? I don't understand it. I remember seeing an article back in like 2012 where it said something about he may have an addiction to cheese, which would be which is hilarious. But I every time you look throughout the people, whenever they post pictures, whenever they have a big parade like that, you never see anyone fat except for good old Kim Possible over there. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Other than the fact that he's obviously a dictator. And that is, one of the reasons why sanctions usually don't work when it comes to dictators or isolated nations like that, because economic sanctions only hurt the general population of that country. I mean, in the 1990s, we hit them with ridiculous sanctions, and I believe like 20% of North Korea's population was killed in famine. A lot of North Koreans died, and it was because they North Korean government didn't care. They didn't care. The whole reason why they want nuclear weapons is a type of North Korean deterrence, if you will. Basically, they want to consolidate power. Kim Jong-un, he wants to be the sole leader. We've seen it. He's assassinated people within his own party, his own family members. He's willing to do anything to stay in power. And people who have defected as of late have really rung true, saying good old Kimmy Boy here, he's just he's derailed. This guy is fucking loony. He's willing to do anything, and that's what's really scary about this situation. And that may be why, the Trump administration's like, okay, something really needs to give with this guy. One, they're getting closer and closer to getting a warhead, a nuclear warhead small enough to mount on an ICBM, and we just can't, I don't believe that they have the technology to hit the United States. I really don't. But you gotta look at it as, Japan. They can definitely hit Japan. They can definitely hit South Korea. They could probably hit bases, U.S. bases over in that area, outside of South Korea and Japan, I'm saying. So we're really getting to the point where a lot of this is coming to a head. It really is. It's kind of a really scary situation just because you have so many superpowers over there. Now, if we just had North Korea to deal with, I wouldn't, I really wouldn't think it would be that big of a deal. The war between us and South Korea and Japan versus, North Korea would spell disaster for South Korea. But it's much bigger than that. And it's much bigger than that because we have Russia and we have China, who are backing North Korea. We can't really say that with China yet. But, I mean, in the past, they've backed North Korea every time. That's how they've survived economic sanctions. These loopholes, like China has been their loophole. China's been a huge loophole for North Korea. And really, this situation could be diffused if China stepped up and was like, you know what, screw this. We're not dealing with North Korea anymore. They've been a pain in our side for so long, and we're done. But it's something that I don't see China doing. And the reason why is because North Korea has always been that buffer. They're a communist country. It's a dictatorship. They're extremely isolated, but it's a buffer between China and democracy, Western powers. So I don't really see them stepping up to that point. They turned around the coal ships. They've made threats to North Korea, and that's all great at face value. But past that, it really doesn't do anything for us. And I feel like this situation is going to spiral out of control. It's my belief. We keep on. We're going to apparently send multiple strike groups over to North Korea, and I mean that's just going to be stoking the fire even more. The fire is already spreading. We see that with Russian troop deployments, Chinese troop deployments. Everyone's on high alert, and it's just a very scary situation. And it's something that we're definitely going to have to talk about more in upcoming videos because it's this is it's not like CNN and MSNBC and Fox News where in situations like this when there's rising tensions, it's always on the front page. They're always talking about it, And then it's kind of like the Ukraine situation when Russia invaded Crimea. Everyone was talking about that shit for 2 weeks. After that, it just got less and less news, and it's like people, we haven't talked about that I haven't seen that on the news in like a year. And, is it because it's not happening anymore? No, it's definitely still happening. It's because these mainstream media outlets have an agenda, and that might be, the globalists at work, the elites, the rich, the powerful. They may want another world war. And you look at Fox and CNN right now, and it seems like they're definitely warmongering there. We got to open our eyes to the situation. What's really going on with this? What's transpiring? It's a scary situation. I'm just waiting for another false flag like in Syria, and for the U.S. to fire first at North Korea, and shit to hit the fan. I hope it doesn't. I've got a couple buddies over there, and I pray for everyone's safety. But this situation is definitely becoming more and more concerning every day, and so we're gonna have to keep on keeping on, my friends. We're gonna have to keep on keeping on.